If you haven't painted on cardboard, you really ought to try it. A couple of months ago, I shared a video talking about how I hadn't made art in years and how unhappy I was about that. And I made the commitment to myself and to the internet that I was going to start prioritizing making art as a habit and in my routine. And I have held myself to that standard, and I'm really, really proud of how far I've come. I definitely have a long way to go still, but I have been making more things over the past couple months than I have probably in the past decade. And so I wanted to bring you with me with my week and what I did this week and sort of just share what I've been working on. I did a lot of fun stuff across a bunch of different mediums, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. So I have been working really hard on sketching in my sketchbook every day. And I don't know that I have achieved it every single day, but I would say 5 to 6 days out of every week, I have sat down for 20 minutes or more and I have drawn in my sketchbook. And that is a really, really big deal for me. I've drawn a lot of stuff that is kind of just garbage, just moving my hand across the page. And I'm okay with that because I'm just so proud of myself for sitting down at all and trying to grow back into what I want to see myself doing as an artist. But I've also done some stuff that I'm really proud of and that I want to share with you. So in my sketchbook, I'm mostly doing pen and ink. I really like using India ink and kind of giving a wash of grays. So this is one of the first things that I drew in this sketchbook. And this is just kind of a silly little thing. It's like a princess and sort of another little princess here. And then in the middle is my dog looking very guilty. And, you know, is this the most beautiful thing I've ever drawn? No, but I really like sort of the looseness of some of the pen lines, and I really like the expression that my dog has. This one is just not the most beautiful thing ever, but it was the start of something that makes me really proud of myself. Up next, I like to draw from religious iconography and medieval stuff, and so I was doing a little bit of like figure study and particularly fabric study on tarot cards and from religious art. And I really like how this turned out, especially the nun who is looking up into the light and holding her arms out. I just love the way that the fabric turned out. And I didn't sketch this. This was just done straight with ink. And I love the sort of, you have to go with what you did, whether you're happy with it or not. There's no erasing and starting over. You just got to roll with it. And so this was a really nice, like loose drawing that I did. One last one out of my sketchbook is this little comic. I'm super inspired by comic artists and comic art, and a lot of times I struggle with having a story for my comic or, you know, knowing what I want to say with a comic. I'm not much of a writer. I'm much more of like a visual person. And so with this one, I just decided to go a little bit more like journal style with the comic and maybe take some of the writing pressure out and just have it be something that's a little bit more like diary journal. And this was me making my breakfast. On this day, I had a little bit of toast. And I have an egg cooker that I like cooking eggs in. It's like it boils them for you in the cooker. And I poured myself some OJ and I had a cup of coffee and I had my breakfast. And one of my dogs really is obsessed with basically any food that I eat, but particularly she loves to hang her nose up on the table when it's breakfast time. And she was looking at me all morning eating my delicious breakfast. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I would love to do more stuff like this and work on maybe not a daily comic journal, but something that's a little bit more slice of life. Maybe there's no real point to the comics, but it's just sort of like documenting what's going on in like a regular daily routine. And I think that's all that I want to share from my sketchbook. But I have a pair of pants that I wear to work most days of the week. They're just like a work style pant and they've got a button fly. And over the years, my buttons have started to crack on them and fall off. And so I finally sat down and I watched a little video about how to mend clothes, and I decided that I was going to mend these buttons. And so luckily for me, they had a couple of buttons that came with the pants. So I just grabbed the pair of buttons and I grabbed a spool of yarn. I kind of like the like off color green. I like that it's a little bit more obvious that it was mended. I'm really interested in visible mending, and I love the way that it looks to be able to see that there was an item of clothing that's been worn and loved enough that it developed wear and tear over time, and then it was loved even more so that it should be repaired by somebody in a way that's decorative and ornamental. And so this is just a little version of that. You know, they're just buttons. It's just one little area that I have visibly mended, but I'm excited to learn more about that. So I wanted to share that, and that was like a little victory for me. I did something totally new to me and totally unfamiliar, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. And I will do it again in the future. So check. I think I'm not alone in saying that the winter kind of bums me out. And so, on top of taking the time and the energy and putting it into my art and my art making, I've been really trying to focus on enjoying the winter and finding things that make me happy in the winter. I live near the water, and so I always try to get out and walk on the beach and enjoy the weather when the weather is nice. And I get a lot of inspiration from being out in nature and taking my little doggies out in nature. So I did take my dogs to the beach one day and let them run around and enjoy the weather. And I just think that the ocean is so beautiful and the sand is so beautiful. And even though this is not making anything, I find so much inspiration from watching nature's colors and patterns and just paying attention to the animals and the plants around me. As an artist, I think that it's important to get out and to see what's going on in your world, whether it's the natural world or the people around you. And I have been really focused on making sure that I stay involved in the world around me. And I think that that's really helped me this winter as well with making things, is that I'm making things, but I'm also paying attention to what's going on around me and taking information in before I sit down to make things. Up next, we have my knitting projects for the week. And I had two big projects. Well, not big, but big-ish for me. So if you watched my knitting plans video, you know that I am working on the Polar Star hat by James Watts. And I got very far along on the hat. I actually completed the knitting for the hat and I constructed it and seamed it up. So now I have a cone for my hat. But what was left is the star ornament. And I wanted to have the whole hat finished so that I could get on here on this video and tell you all I did it. I finished the hat. And unfortunately, my hat is still starless, but that's okay because we're going to talk through it. So I sat down this week and I fully intended to start and finish the star for the hat. I expected it to be challenging because I had sort of played with it a little bit and I thought it was hard, but I also hadn't been giving it my full attention. And so I figured that it would be a challenge, but a challenge that I could handle. And I started knitting and it was just not happening for me. I was struggling. I tried using double pointed needles and then I tried using magic circle or magic loop or whatever it's called, and that just wasn't happening either. And I was just getting really frustrated. And so I decided, you know what, like I'm gonna hit pause. Knitting is supposed to be fun and not supposed to make me upset. So let me just hit pause and I'll come back to this later. So the next day I read a little bit more. I went on Ravelry because in my mind I was like the only person who couldn't make this star, and I was basically just looking to see if anybody was talking about anything about the star. And I will be honest, it made me feel so much better because there were so many people saying the star was really hard, the star was the hardest part, loved the pattern, but oh my gosh, the star. So that made me feel better. And I felt like, you know, maybe I wasn't the worst knitter in the world. And I watched a video on the magic loop and I built a little bit more confidence in that skill. And I went for it again. And this time it was much more successful. I felt like I was doing it correctly and it was still really hard, but I kind of managed to get to the end of the star. I stuffed it, and what I wound up with was definitely a star. It was absolutely technically a star, but it just didn't look that good. I think that even though I followed the instructions, I probably could have done a technically better job on some of the stitches. And so there were some sections that had like holes and like the tension was a little bit loose and a little bit off. So that was informative for me because I was like, okay, like I can make a star. Now I know I can make a star. That's kind of the baseline and we can go from there. My plan was to sit down again and start again on the third try of the star and finish it up and be able to present you a totally finished hat, a totally finished star, and tell you, oh, it was hard, but I did it. But I don't have any movie magic. I didn't make it happen. But that's okay. I will finish it next week, or maybe 2 weeks from now, or maybe 3 weeks from now. I don't know. I just need to keep working on the star. But that's how you learn and that's how you grow, is you try again, and I will try again and I will get a star that I'm happy with. That is my first knitting project. Project number 2 is a finished project and I'm very excited to share it with you. Let me grab it. So this is the Jazz Bandana and this is shared on the Hobby website and it is a free pattern. It looks so good. I'm so happy with this. This has been just an ongoing project for me. I like to have a couple of projects on at a time. One that is maybe a little bit more involved, aka the Polar Star hat star, and one that is a little bit more like relaxing, meditative, chill out before bed. And this has been my like quiet time knitting. And I think it turned out so good. The pattern actually calls for it to be a wool, but I did it in like a cotton and bamboo blend because I wanted something a little bit lighter weight. And my plan was either to wear it like a little like head scarf type of thing, get it on there, which I think is really cute. Or I might even wear it as like a neck bandana, but like a decorative neck bandana. And something like that. Just kind of like a little cute accessory, a little lightweight cute accessory. The only thing that I haven't decided on, so this is totally done. The ends are woven in. I haven't blocked it yet, so I do have to block it. In the pattern, it shows that there is an I-cord edge all along it, and I just can't decide how I feel about it. So for now, I'm gonna block it, check it out there, and if I really feel like it's missing the I-cord edge, I will add an I-cord edge in, but I really kind of like it with the more like simple edge. I think it looks a little bit more delicate, particularly with the cotton. But let me know what y'all think. Do we feel like it needs an I-cord edge? The other thing is I don't have that much more of this yarn left. This was scrap yarn, so I don't think that I could do the I-cord edge all in the same color. Some of it would have to be white and some of it would have to be green. But maybe that's cool, I don't know. Y'all let me know. The next thing that I've been working on, I wanted to talk about a little bit of painting. So like I said, I do get a lot of inspiration from being outside and going outside and seeing nature. And at the end of last year, we went somewhere that is kind of far from our house, but is absolutely beautiful. It's like a cypress forest next to a lake, and it's just always so cool and so nice. And it's like a big, long walk, but you get to see beautiful, beautiful trees and beautiful nature. And I love cypress trees. I think that they're some of the spookiest, like most alien trees in the world. And I was really inspired by this walk, and I'm always inspired when I go, but I wanted to draw and paint some of those trees, and I was thinking about them a lot recently. I'm not really sure what prompted me to think back to this trip that we took like a month or two ago. But these are my trees, and I'm really, really happy with this one too. I feel like this whole thing is me saying I'm happy with what I made, but I really am. This was sort of, I wanted it to be super alien with like the purpley trees and the sort of green water. This is gouache on, well, it's acrylic gouache, which I really like. It doesn't reactivate with water, so you get like the matte texture of gouache, but you don't have to worry with like some of the more challenging elements of it. And it's just on cardboard. Cardboard is one of my favorite things, or has been one of my favorite things to work with. And I love the colors that like the brown sort of brings through the paint. But something else that I like about working on cardboard is I don't feel like I might be wasting like a nice piece of paper. And it, for me at least, it like tricks my brain into thinking like it doesn't have to be that serious if it turns out badly. It's just a piece of cardboard versus like the high-end, like fancy, swanky art supply. If you haven't painted on cardboard, you really ought to try it. And I had so much fun painting that one that I wanted to paint another thing on the cardboard. I had more cardboard. And this is just a little silly one. It's of my dog, and she always looks so sad and so worried. And I just wanted to make a little green version of her. Green's my favorite color, and I thought it was fun. So again, just gouache on cardboard. I think she's so cute. It's so sad. But there she is. And that is what I worked on this week. I'm feeling really inspired and really hopeful for the rest of the year. I can't wait to see what it brings. And I hope that you're working on things that are making you happy, and I will see you next time. Bye.